something strangely exhausting about the way a small comment, a glance, or even someone's silence can rattle you for hours, sometimes days. It's like your skin is too thin for this world, and every offhand remark feels like a personal attack. You tell yourself it shouldn't matter, but it does. And then comes the shame of why it mattered so much in the first place. This isn't about being overly sensitive. This is something deeper, older, something that's been living inside of you, unnoticed, until the outside world pokes at it. You don't take things personally. Something inside you receives them personally. And it has a name, your shadow. Carl Jung called it the shadow self, a kind of psychic backpack where we throw everything about ourselves we can't accept, can't bear to see, or were told was too much when we were young. That defensiveness that you feel, that sting of offense, that need to explain or prove yourself. It's often your shadow trying to protect its secrets. But why do some people seem so untouched by criticism, while for others, one sentence can ruin their whole week? Stay with me until the end of this video, because this isn't just about learning psychological terms or quoting Jung for clout. This is about understanding why you react the way you do, where it really comes from, and how to start finding peace within yourself. And I promise, once you see the shadow, you can never unsee it. Let's start here. You're not weak, you're human. But somewhere along the way, you were taught, subtly or loudly, that certain parts of you weren't welcome. Maybe you were too loud, too emotional, too needy, too proud, or too wild. So you learned to push those parts of you down, out of view, into the shadow. But whatever we reject in ourselves doesn't just disappear, it festers, it waits, and it gets triggered, especially when we see it in others. That's why when someone criticizes you, you don't just hear their words. You hear every time you were shamed for being too much or not enough. You hear echoes of childhood rejection, and your nervous system treats it like a threat. And it happens when we don't own our shadow, when we get emotionally hijacked by it. Before we continue, if you're someone who loves expanding your mind and exploring the deeper layers of life, make sure to subscribe to Fractal Wisdom to never miss a moment like this. So, what exactly is the shadow? Where did it come from? And how does it manage to sneak its way into your every thought, interaction, and emotion? Let's go back to childhood for a moment, not as a cliché, but as the blueprint. As kids, we're basically walking bundles of pure expression, laughing too loud, crying in the middle of a store, drawing on walls, asking questions, demanding attention. We are unapologetically ourselves, but little by little we get the message, that version of you, it's too much, or not enough. Maybe your parents praised you when you were quiet and punished you when you got mad. Maybe your tears were dismissed, your joy was too loud, your curiosity too inconvenient. So what did you do? You edited yourself. You started hiding parts of you in order to survive and be loved. You tucked away your anger, your pride, your weirdness, your boldness, whatever was deemed unacceptable. That's how the shadow forms. Carl Jung said it best. The shadow is a moral problem that challenges the whole ego personality, for no one can become conscious of the shadow without considerable moral effort. You see, the shadow isn't just some dark cloud following you around. It's everything about you that didn't get approval, and because you rejected it, it now reacts on your behalf. This is why when someone criticizes your work, it feels like they're criticizing you. The shadow doesn't care that you're an adult now. It still thinks you're 8 years old, trying to make sense of a world where love felt conditional. Ever lashed out in anger, then regretted it? That's your shadow reacting before your conscious self can step in. Ever gone silent or passive-aggressive because someone triggered you? That's your shadow protecting a raw nerve. And the surprising thing is, it doesn't just show up when you're hurt. It also shows up when someone else shines. That tight feeling in your chest, when you see someone confidently owning their voice. That jealousy that creeps in when someone expresses themselves freely. That's your shadow saying, "That used to be me, until I was told it wasn't okay." You see how deep this goes? We think we're reacting to the now, but we're often reacting to the then. The hard truth is, until you meet your shadow, it runs the show. And that doesn't mean that there's something wrong with you. This is where real inner work begins. Not by rejecting the shadow all over again, but by getting curious about it. Start asking, what part of me did that situation awaken? What old belief just got touched? Am I responding from my adult self or my wounded child? These aren't easy questions, but they're the ones that shift you from reactivity to awareness. When we ignore our shadow, it projects onto everyone around us. We start seeing enemies where there are mirrors. We hear insults where there were just neutral words. We assume rejection where there was just silence. That's the power of the unconscious. It colors your entire reality without your permission. But the beautiful news are, once you see it, you can choose differently. That's the path of integration. So, by now, you've probably realized something kind of life-altering. The parts of you that overreact, that spiral, that overthink, they aren't flaws. They're messengers. Messengers from the shadow. But here's what people get wrong about shadow work. It's not about killing your ego, silencing your reactions, or getting rid of your pain. It's not about transcending your humanity. It's about integrating it. Jung wasn't asking us to become spiritual robots. He was inviting us to become conscious, aware, awake, and whole. And to do that, we have to bring the shadow into the light. But let's be clear, this isn't some woo-woo, airy-fairy, light a candle and journal once a month kind of thing. Real shadow work is gritty and uncomfortable. It's that moment you realize you were projecting your fear of abandonment onto your partner, or your unacknowledged envy onto your best friend, or your buried anger onto strangers on the internet. It's the brave, quiet moment where you pause and say, okay, that wasn't about them, that was me. Not in a shaming way, in a liberating way. Because now, you're not trapped in the automatic pattern. You can choose something different. So, how do we actually start integrating the shadow? Let's break it down. Simple, not easy, but transformative. 1. Cultivate radical self-honesty. Shadow work begins when you stop pretending. Pretending you're fine, pretending you're always kind, pretending you're not scared. The shadow feeds off denial. The moment you can say, yep, I judged that person because I'm insecure about that part of myself, you've already taken power back. 2. Use triggers as invitations, not enemies. That pang of jealousy, that defensiveness, that flare of anger, it's not there to ruin your day, it's a breadcrumb. A flashing neon sign pointing to a part of you that wants to be seen. Pause and ask yourself, what does this remind me of? When did I first feel this? What am I believing in this moment that might not be true? 3. Dialogue with your shadow. This might sound strange, but Jung actually encouraged what he called active imagination. Talk to your shadow like it's a part of you, because it is. Ask it why it's so hurt, what it's afraid of, what it needs. You'll be surprised how much wisdom emerges when you stop shaming your reactions and start listening to them. 4. Reclaim your disowned traits. This is big. Your shadow doesn't only hold pain, it holds power. The confidence you admire in others, it's likely part of your shadow. So is your boldness, your creativity, and your strength. These are parts of you you learned to hide, and now they're rusting in the basement. Shadow work is about going down there, wiping off the dust, and saying, you're welcome here. 5. Practice compassion, not control. You don't fix the shadow, you befriend it. You develop a relationship with it. And through that relationship, your reactions soften. Not because you're suppressing them, but but because they're no longer acting from fear. This is spiritual work, but it's also deeply psychological and deeply human. So now we've come full circle. You started this journey thinking the problem was taking things too personally, but hopefully you've realized it was never really about the comment, the look, or the silence. It was always about the part of you that felt unseen, unheard, and unloved. And here's the twist most people don't expect. Your shadow is the missing piece of your power. Carl Jung believed that real growth, individuation, comes not by becoming perfect, but by integrating the opposites within us. Light and dark, strength and softness, logic and emotion. The shadow isn't something to get rid of, it's something to reclaim. Because when you integrate your shadow, you don't just stop taking things personally. You become a creative force. Think about it. All that energy you used to spend defending yourself, you get it back. All that anxiety trying to manage how people see you, freed up. All that fear of rejection, failure, judgment, transformed into confidence, clarity, expression. You become someone who can walk into a room without shrinking or posturing, because you're not fragmented anymore, you're whole. And that wholeness is magnetic. People can feel it when you're not at war with yourself anymore. You stop needing to explain your worth. You start embodying it. And this doesn't mean you'll never be triggered again. We're human. We have nervous systems. Life keeps lifing. But the difference is, you'll know how to respond instead of react. You'll catch the story your mind wants to tell and choose whether or not to believe it. You'll see that moment of pain not as a failure, but as a doorway. Ah, here's a part of me that still needs my love. And here's where it gets even more exciting. When you reclaim your shadow, you unlock your creativity. Some of the greatest art, innovation, and spiritual breakthroughs in human history have come from people willing to meet their darkness with curiosity. They didn't suppress it. They used it, transformed it, and alchemized it. Your shadow holds your suppressed gifts. The voice you were told was too loud might be the voice that inspires others. The emotions you were taught to hide might be the ones that connect you deeply to humanity. The rage you were made to fear might be the fire that fuels your purpose. You start realizing this isn't just personal growth, it's a spiritual path. A path of radical self-acceptance. You don't need to be liked by everyone, to always be understood, or to be perfect. You just need to be real. And realness comes from integration. So the next time you feel that twinge, that sting of someone's words, that urge to withdraw or lash out, pause. Ask yourself, what's the story I'm telling right now? Whose voice am I hearing? Is this wound ready to be healed? Sit with it. Talk to a therapist. Create something. Speak it out loud to a friend you trust. But don't run from it. Because every time you bring one piece of your shadow into the light, you become more of who you really are. And who you are is not too much, is not too sensitive, is not broken. You are a whole, evolving, deeply feeling human being. And that is your superpower. If this video spoke to you, if you felt seen or stirred or cracked open in some small way, trust that. It means something inside you is ready to shift. And if you want more videos that go beyond surface level advice and into the real, messy, beautiful depths of the human psyche, subscribe to Fractal Wisdom, because this is the kind of space where your inner world gets to breathe. And if you're still here, thank you. That means you've got the courage to do the work, to face what most people run from. Keep going. The world needs people like you, awake, aware, and not afraid of the dark. See you in the next one.